Hey everybody, welcome back to Under the Hood, the show that dives into what Orbee is building and why we're building it. Today, we're going to talk about Orbee's Tag Manager. And the reason for this topic is I'm about to release a more formal sort of tutorial video, but I wanted to talk with the tool and ask him okay, why did Orbee build a tag manager? When you look online, really the only companies that are building these things are like giant advertising platforms. So Atul, what is a tag manager? Let's start there.
Yeah, that's a good point. So tag managers, I want to be clear about something. Google isn't the first person to put this idea together. In fact, Google's tag manager is actually, I believe, is built on something that Google invented called Closure, which was a JavaScript coordinator. Closure allowed you to choose what order things loaded onto the page, which was amazing tech underneath the hood for Google Analytics and everything else Google was doing for AdSense and stuff, those ads that are running on bloggers.
Mm-hmm.
And so they use Closure and they kind of I think evolved it into Tag Manager. Now, tag management in general serves sort of, I think, two primary purposes. One is the content management side, right? You're not going to want to go into WordPress and install hundreds of plugins. If you're a Shopify user or a blogger user, you're going to need an easy way to turn on and off things, right? And so Tag Manager was created for one aspect, like the content side. The other side is, why do you put scripts on sites a lot? It's for a lot of advertising related stuff, right? This is what Apple has this big fight going on about, which is all these third-party scripts, third-party cookies dropping on sites. So on one side, you have a lot of ad related things, customer experience related things, marketing. And then on the other side, you may have straight content management elements. Orbee, of course, solved why we created a tag manager is because we think that's the fundamental component of how you listen to what your consumers are doing. So I know there's a lot of talk about CDPs, this and that. If you actually Google, if you go to my tab here and you look up CDP versus DMP, I want to mention something. DMP is a form of tag manager. Okay. DMP is what coordinates the JavaScripts and so forth. And so you could go through, and I'll just put quotes here. When you put quotes, it limits it. There are 4,000 articles about CDP versus DMP. In fact, it's at Twilio, Treasure Data, Sitecore, which is a big thing, Microsoft, Adobe. The list goes on of who talks about the difference between these. Well, I'm a strong proponent of the fact that this is still a very important piece of listening to events from web pages. So I want to go back into some history here. Back in 2014, Oracle acquired BlueKai. Also around that time, really like a few years back, Adobe bought Demdex. And then also Salesforce acquired Crux. And these all happen in different stages. In fact, like in the order I'm looking at here, Adobe bought Demdex first, and then Oracle bought BlueKai, and then Salesforce bought Crux. And it's funny, just the amount of money kept rising, right? And these have become, even though they used to be called DMPs, they were effectively tag managers, and they've become audience managers in each of these platforms. So Adobe Audience Manager, Salesforce Audience Manager. And so we built a DMP, not just a tag manager. We're not trying to be a content management engine. And so when you think about all the tags that we drop on behalf of clients, right? Sending pixels. When Pinterest launched their features for automotive, we were one of the first to drop those pixels. But instead of just dropping dumb pixels over to these third-party marketing media channels, you can actually send very specific data, and you could choose when it's happening. So I have certain accounts where sometimes we send it to Facebook, sometimes we send it to Google. Maybe you don't send all events to everybody because maybe those platforms don't even have a way to particularly use that data. So this is why we built a tag manager, because like I'm saying, it's the fundamental component of a marketing cloud. And, I think why CDP versus DMP is such a big topic is because people do wonder about either or. I actually would argue, and I'd have a debate with any ad tech person in the industry that in our industry and outside, that DMPs are still critical. In fact, they've just been renamed in a way.
It seems like the DMP would be more critical, especially when you haven't identified who a customer is. Because without that like identification part, you really can't market to them unless it's through, a first party cookie by changing a site, or pushing them, the segments to one of those platforms like Pinterest and Facebook. So that's the DMP part, right?
That's the
Being able
DMP
to
part.
retarget the anonymous people, which
Yep.
is
So now let
most
me
people on your site.
So if we'll switch over to the other share here in a second, but one of the things that I wanted to kind of emphasize is everything works hand in hand, right? So you need a tag manager to do more than just cut and paste tags. In
Mhm.
fact, Google Tag Manager itself doesn't even have an easy Facebook plugin. You are cutting and pasting what Facebook gives you. So for a dealer to become sort of educated on all the nuances that are possible in GTM, it's not worth it. It's not worth it, but you really need something that's made for the purpose that you're using it for in the first place.
Right. With all the different types of JavaScript that is running on a dealership website, specifically, like it could get really messy really quickly. And then you have to figure out when things are firing. There's just a lot. It's a lot to deal with, even on our own site.
Exactly.
So what are you pulling up in the other tab? Where are we going to
Well, I want to
show?
show these pixel helpers.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so people who do some of their own marketing
Hmm.
will be very familiar with this.
Right.
Pixel helpers are a very common feature for media companies. So I'll just type pixel helper here. People might notice I'm using Microsoft Edge, big fan. But if you notice here that you have pixel helpers for Facebook, TikTok, Snap, and then you could go on forever. Taboola, which is those clickbaity links at the bottom of news articles. Twitter, Reddit has one. Teeds, which is those video players that open, when you scroll a big article on ESPN
Oh,
and the player
okay.
opens as you're scrolling. That's Teeds, very big company. They actually started when I was running and had operated One Screen, which was in the video business. Zemanta, which helps you find contextualization. A lot of these pixel helpers are all about letting you know what's happening on your website. So if we just go to homedepot.com, I could actually tell you which pixels are firing. So I could see here that they are, make sure I'm not blocking any ads. So let me just go in here and go to manage and turn this guy on and let the pixels fire.
Yeah, when I first started playing around with pixel helpers, I thought it was cool that like you could see how almost any site that's advertising on Facebook, you could see how they've sort of configured their events. So it's a good place to get some inspiration.
Inspiration. So, like for instance, I'm on the home page, right? Nothing fired. Let's go into a sub page. I still see nothing firing on here, and I'm actually starting to wonder if my settings are actually,
It's the edge.
yeah. If I go to Edge, yeah, I'm gonna go to privacy. Okay, it's not preventing traffic. So Home Depot doesn't have any, but let's go to Best Buy. Let's see here. Oh, wow. You know what? Something is definitely being blocked by my computer. But anyway, the point is all of these pixel helpers should actually show you that they're dropping pixels um, on this website. So here you go. Nordstrom's dropping Snapchat. I
Hmm.
could see they just created a pixel ID. They even have a hash calculator to handle email PII that is hashed and is privacy safe, but they're not dropping Pinterest. Maybe Twitter. They're
Hmm.
not dropping TikTok. So there could be reasons for this, right? If I go to Casper mattresses, I have a feeling they'd be more aggressive with their pixel drops because they're all about remarketing. So let's see here. Okay, so I'm blocking, right? So if you
56.
notice, I blocked 57 things. Let's go ahead and let this stuff through and let's see what happens. Okay,
Let's
there you have
share your
TikTok.
screen through a different method because when you click on it, it's not showing the data.
Oh yeah. But you do see the count of 4 for
Yeah.
TikTok,
Yeah.
and Twitter has 1. There's the one all the way on the left, which is Pinterest. So you could actually see what people are doing. Now, all these pixels helpers are doing is helping the marketer debug things to understand what is happening, what information is being sent to those media platforms, so that when I go into TikTok, when I go into Twitter, Pinterest, Facebook, etc., I know how to design my campaigns. So we actually designed one as well, because being a tag manager, you really need to manage that. Now, just to be clear, because I know we like to always talk about outside of auto, Adobe didn't build. Actually, Adobe Experience Platform Debugger. So here, this is what they built that is going to be equivalent to a tag helper. And I'm actually going to learn from this because it looks pretty cool. But here's what we did. We did the same exact thing, right? So let's go to one of our clients. We'll just go to Smale Auto. And in this example here, you'll actually see Orbee is actually providing information on what we did in our tag manager. So we have tracked analytics. In fact, we are pushing Google Analytics information. We also are collecting data into the Orbee engine. We're also dropping a segment into Facebook. And then we're also dropping a segment into AdWords and so on. So basically, our tag manager is coordinating all of these messages that are being sent to these ad sources, these media platforms, and within Orbee. Now, what's interesting too in our tag helper, let's say I close this chat box. I don't want to have anything to do with it. But then maybe I click it again and I close it again. Well, guess what? Orbee
Let's
knows you
share
clicked
the
on chat.
whole screen so we can see it.
Oh, you know what? Let me see how I could do that. Yeah, let me go ahead and share the entire screen. Tell me if you see it.
No, I don't actually. The streaming.
Oh, let me stop all shares. And there's like a few of them. And then I'll just share again. And this time I'll share the entire screen. And if you look here, I'm on this mail site, right?
All right, go ahead, click it.
And if you see here, we have
There we
15
go.
events that we're collecting. So you can see that we've sent some information off to Google. We sent some information off to Orbee Analytics. I've done a page view. But check this out. Let's say I open the chat. Orbee actually knows the chat was opened. And in fact, you can see here, Orbee tracked that without it being programmed by a human, because Orbee understands automotive, because we know all these vendors, because we work with many of them. We know what's happening within this chat box, right? Yeah. And then more importantly, like if I click any of these, let's say I click Smale Acura, we know you click Smale Acura. And so we are showing to our customers everything that we're listening to and everything we're dropping, all the segments in our tag manager. When you put it all together, Chris, imagine being able to use the data coming in and actually being able to build logic based on that data coming in. So when someone does X and then they do Y and then they do Z, then drop a Facebook pixel or then drop a Pinterest pixel. And that's what the previous era of data management platforms did. These are horrible names, right? Data management platform, customer data platform. But that's what a DMP was. It was really a tag manager. And We call ours the Orbee TMS, tag management system. You will start seeing on certain OEM related brands, if you go to a Honda store, for instance, you might actually see Orbee helping the OEM coordinate that data as well, because we are trying to bring the whole industry together across all tiers, across all vendors, into a single way to communicate with each other, not just for analytics, but for actual customer experience.
That last part you mentioned before stopping your screen share, the looking at the data coming in and applying logic to it seems like the coolest use case, because you can replicate, customer behavior. Like, as the marketer, you can pretend to go on these different journeys, like whether it's using the chat widget, whether it's starting in the trade-in tool, whatever steps you get to the form submit, you kind of recreate those, and that's how you build your audiences. Like the person that opened up chat first and then did digital retailing, or vice versa. So then you build those segments, and then you can retarget those based on like the logic that you kind of figured out a lot of customers are going through.
Absolutely. And in our tag
That's cool.
manager, we hate using Pixel Helper because it's a lot more. Right now, it's called the Tag Helper. We actually think we're going to call it the Orbee Assistant, because you could actually now add heat maps overlays. So you don't need something like Hotjar. I mean, Hotjar is unnecessary for dealers. What we're able to show you is what buttons are being clicked on more. We have some work to do there because all websites have nuances, but then you're able to overlay experiences. You're able to gamify, kind of browse the site as a mystery shopper yourself, see all those events are being collected. Let us know if there's a black hole. You might find an iframe you didn't know is an iframe, right? From a vendor. And so imagine you stop seeing events being collected in the Orbee script, and you're like, wait, something's not right here. There must be an iframe here. Hey, Orbee, can you guys help me connect this other component to the rest of the customer journey? So that's really what the tag manager is doing. I actually am surprised there isn't more of them for other platforms like Treasure Data or Amplitude. Amplitude has one. Treasure Data doesn't. But yeah, I think I'm excited about having more and more people use it to make tangible decisions in how they want to market to their consumers.
That could be a fun exercise. Like, install the Orbee Tag Manager, click around different buttons, and see how many different button clicks lead to no data. And then that's an indicator that like your own data isn't being collected by Orbee, and we listen to everything. So that's
everything. And I will mention there are companies like Full Story, who are all about rage click analysis and error handling, right? You go to Lamps Plus and you're trying to buy this lamp and it just doesn't open the cart. That's called rage clicking, and Full Story tracks that, but Orbee tracks those things too. So yet another vendor from the outside that we're able to kind of consolidate into our feature set. And one thing to keep in mind though, you can't just use the Pixel Helper without the Orbee JavaScript there.
Right.
However, we are probably in December going to allow you to inject a temporary Orbee script that allows you to sort of see what's happening. It's not ideal. The real best bet is go to Orbee.com, register for an account. It's very easy to get started, and that will make the Pixel Helper work.
Yeah.
And then, if you're wanting to do deeper stuff with the CDP and understand what data is there for you to use in your marketing, that's when you schedule a time with us and dig in.
Sweet. Well, I'll leave a link to check out the TMS, Orbee's TMS, and our free analytics. You can get registered, sign up, and reach out to us if you have any questions about this. This was a fun topic. Until next time.